Prime Minister Stephen Harper later today to try to gain his support for measures against Iran. With oil prices already climbing in the U.S. and Canada, what would greater tensions, maybe even a war in the Middle East, mean for fuel prices here? For more, we're joined by Roger McKnight. He's Senior Petroleum Analyst with Enpro International. Roger, thank you for joining us this morning.
Very welcome.
So let's talk a bit about Iran and the fear premium. We've seen Brent prices go up, West Texas Intermediate go up. How much is the fear premium? How much of the price of oil right now is that fear premium?
I'd say about $10 right now. I look at Brent as a thermometer, and this temperature is going up gradually. We start off with the fear factor. Then we have we have a supply problem with supplies from the North Sea, Yemen, Syria, and Nigeria being interrupted quite significantly. Then we have the situation with the sanctions come in. Iranian oil is light and sweet, and the refineries that use that can only use light and sweet. They can't switch to heavy and sour. So we're going to have a situation, if these sanctions go through, where you're going to have a supply problem as far as fuels are concerned.
Who else produces light and sweet crude similar to the Iranian crude?
Nigeria. It's very much sought after because you get a high yield of gasoline, and it's quite easy to refine.
And would Nigeria be able to increase production, or is that just not possible?
They're a very unreliable supplier. They have strife there, labor strife you wouldn't believe.
And so you talk about $10 premium. Is there more of a premium on Brent than on West Texas Intermediate?
Yes, there is, because Brent is really the world crude price as far as I'm concerned. WTI is losing its significance, and everybody should really be looking at the Brent price. So that's the situation. The other thing is, if the Iranian sanctions come in, it's been said that Saudi Arabia can make up the shortfall. I don't trust the Saudis. The shortfall that they can cover would be heavy sour crude, and you can't use it. So a lot of these refineries are actually going to have to shut down. And the financial whack of the high Brent crude is exemplified in the Petroplus refinery shutting down. And what has that got to do with North America, you may ask? Well, it's because you ask the people in Philadelphia, where you got 3 refineries shutting down, and in the Virgin Islands, which is a key supplier of gasoline to New York Harbor, what's going on? Because they had to use the higher priced Brent crude versus WTI discounted crude for the Midwest. And that's what's happening. People don't understand in Canada that the price of transportation fuels, including gasoline, are really tied to benchmark, what we call rack prices in the United States. Montreal looks at Albany, Toronto follows Buffalo, Northern Ontario follows Detroit, all the prairies follow Grand Forks, North Dakota, and southern Vancouver follows Seattle.
And is there a lot of variance in those prices? I'm assuming that Grand Forks, being in the center of the continent where we've got a lot of supply and not a lot of pipeline capacity, is a lot lower than Montreal.
Yes, it is. But to exemplify how tied we are to U.S. gasoline prices, ask the people in Vancouver are paying $1.42 a liter because a refinery in Washington went down on February the 17th, 225,000 barrels a day, and it is a key supplier of jet fuel and gasoline into the Vancouver market. Prices spiked overnight.
Now, I want to come back to Iran for a second. There are all these sanctions being put in place on Iran from the United States, from the Europeans. There's this pressure on India, China, Japan not to buy Iranian crude. Is that Iranian crude actually going to simply disappear from the market, or do you expect it all to just come into the market in different ways, find ways around the sanctions?
I think President Obama is going to be forced to release some of the sanction requirements for certain countries because it's seriously affecting the economy in North America and his presidential run. And with $5 a gallon gasoline, he's not a very popular person right now.
But in China, in India, they've all been talking about how they will actually cut back on Iranian oil. Is that actually not going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen at all.
All right.
None whatsoever.
Roger, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
That was Roger McKnight, Senior Petroleum Analyst with Enpro International.